Okay, we should be live. So, seeing as I forgot to announce it, I doubt we've got anyone watching, but someone might join us along the way. You never know your luck. And we're going to do this anyway, so there, let's mute that so we don't hear ourselves back. And you got three of us this month. Mr. Sparkle has got a meeting. We'll give him a test card for this month. There you go. So, let's kick off then with what we've been up to this month. And I will try and find out which screen my mouse is currently on. There it is. I will bring up the notes. So, this month, I have just been hellishly busy doing lots of different stuff. It's been a bit of a crazy month, to be honest. So, the Northwest Computer Museum, not too very far from me, where I've been volunteering, we're going to start doing some retro fairs. So, we're going to get some traders in. It'll be local people selling things for local people. They'll be selling their own stuff, and we'll also get some vendors in, the type of vendors you'll see at Expo selling retro stuff as well. So we're going to start organising them every couple of months or so. And I am in charge of that very thing. I'm also going to start running a board game club because the museum closes at 4 every day. So outside of those hours, there's no income, there's no utilisation of it. So probably a Wednesday evening. We'll start off maybe one a month, then maybe if it's popular, we'll go to fortnightly, something like that. But we're going to have a board game club because there's a cafe in there with tables and stuff, and they're going to show me how to use the till, and I can sell hot, cold drinks and snacks and that kind of thing. So that is going to start happening in the next few weeks. I've got my books for sale in the museum shop. There's a shop there. They sell all sorts of stuff, electronic component kits. They've got not many Raspberry Pis about at the moment, but there is a Pi 400 in there for sale. A couple of books and mugs and T-shirts, that kind of thing. So all that's going on. Podcast-wise, so I was editing Dinosaur Pie 2 days ago, I think, maybe 3. And Simon mentioned a book that Craig Turner has written. So I reached out to Craig and said, what the hell's this book? I've heard nothing about it, mainly because I don't go on Facebook, and that's where he'd been posting about it. So he's written a book about collecting rare prototype systems and that kind of thing from a UK perspective. But you'll probably have heard that interview, but for anyone live or watching on YouTube, you may not have done. If you want to catch that, go and listen to the interview in this episode. So I jumped on with him Monday. After about 45 minutes of futzing around, we finally got him a microphone and headphones that worked, and we did about half-hour chat about his book, which will be going on Kickstarter in the next couple of weeks. It's called Game Not Over. Movies-wise, so I'd been holding back on watching this one because I kind of figured what it would be, and that was a movie called Prey, which is the latest in kind of the Predator series, and it's got a young girl who's the main protagonist fighting against a predator, and you can kind of guess what happens, but it wasn't a bad film. There's some good deaths in it. If you can get over the fact that, it's a young girl once again who saves the day, that's fine. It's a decent movie. It's worth a
Broomstick
watch.
arms, she flexes, and the alien monster cowers.
Yeah.
As does everybody that sees it.
Something like that. But there's some good deaths in there. It's watchable. The other big movie that we've talked about on the show, no doubt at least one of my co-hosts has watched it, and that's Pinball, The Man Who Saved the Game. So I checked that out about a week ago. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I liked the way that they'd done it, in the intro scenes where they've got the actor, literally pretending he's Roger Sharp saying, well, what do you want to know about kind of thing. Almost a reluctance to do the film. How real that is, I don't know. But I did like the way they did it. And I thought it told the story reasonably well. The court case...
It wasn't quite the story I thought it would be, though. I mean, the the story of how he was asked to go into court and show them it was a game of skill and all that was there. I think that was the main story, but they kind of made it just a background to his life. But they didn't like not cover it. But
Yeah, I think that whole court thing could have been more impactful. Could have had a lot more to say. But yeah, it's a decent retro gaming movie, so I would recommend you check it out as and when you get chance.
If you haven't seen it, I give it a high recommendation to watch. There's some of the performative recitations that have to go into every movie now. It is not exclusively about Roger Sharp's, court thing. It does, however, I think do a good job of representing the sort of seedy, status that pinball had back in that day, and culturally a lot of why pinball was what it was. So I think that especially the pinballs being in the porn shop was and then they get rated for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you got open air prostitution and drug market, but let's go get those guys playing pinball. And that was actually what happened, though. So you couldn't say that they didn't do a good job there. I really liked it overall. I anticipated it, waited for it quite some time. Sent an email to the producer saying, hey, come on the show, talk about it. Never heard a word back. Still wish them success, though. So, not bad.
Yeah. The other gaming movie, I think, premieres, is it Friday? That's Tetris, the movie. So I'm looking forward to that too, which is all about the creation of the game, not a documentary as such about Tetris, but similar kind of deal, I guess, to the pinball movie. And the other one that's worth watching, I watched, is another true story called Bank of Dave. Not our Dave, but another Dave. And it's this guy in a town called Burnley. Again, not too far from me, less than an hour. And he was a businessman, and he started lending people money, and they paid him back. And he wanted to go legit. He was helping people out in his town. He's very proud of where he comes from. And he wanted to start his own bank. And he reached out to the powers that be and said, okay, how do I start a bank? And they were like, oh, no, only we can be bankers. And it just shows, the kind of people that think they're in this elite club. And one of his things in the movie was he wanted them to say, no, only we can run banks. And then he was going to say, well, you crashed them in 2008. You crashed them again. And you're about to crash them now. So it's all about the underhanded stuff that they tried to do. And I won't spoil the end, but if you're a fan of Def Leppard, I recommend you watch it as well. There's some Def Leppard in there. But yeah, Bank of Dave is worth a watch. TV shows, we've been watching a comedy called Ghosts, UK comedy. For those old enough that remember Rent a Ghost, it will remind you of that. So this young girl inherits a big mansion off a distant aunt, and they move in and it's haunted. Then she bangs the head and she can see all the ghosts there, but her boyfriend can't. It's pretty funny. Some of the ghosts and the way they died in there. It's all right. It's not fantastic, but definitely worth a watch. And the other show that is definitely worth a watch is it's been out a couple of years now, but I just caught up with the 2 seasons they've done so far, and that is Slow Horses, which is about MI5 and some of the rejects from MI5 who get shipped out to another office, and all about them stopping bad people doing bad things. That's pretty funny. Gary Oldman's in it, plays one of the lead roles. He's fantastic in it. Great actor. The other thing I've been doing is making some games. I know Scott will talk about making game parts and things, but I made some games, so I kind of went down a bit of a rabbit hole of I made a card game a couple of years ago, and I've talked with Sparkle about maybe kickstarting it at some point, and I lent it to my daughter to play with her group of friends and do some play testing a bit further and what have you, different numbers of people. And then she had it and she moved house and it was stuck in a box for a while, and I finally got it back, so I tweaked that a bit. We played it on a recent caravan trip, and all the reviews were great. and there was a few suggestions of
I wouldn't get home.
There's only me playing.
I didn't want to fucking work. You want to tell me how great my game is?
Yeah. A few. So again, it was further market research. So they suggested a few tweaks here and there, which I've made. So that is this one. The game is called Survival, and it's just a card game, and you play your character, and you pick up weapons and things like that, and you attack your fellow players. Different weapons do different amounts of damage to the other characters, but it's very themable as well. So I did like a supernatural. If I can, let me switch the camera. I'm holding it up to the camera, like you can see it. Where has that gone? In about 7 seconds, you may see it. I can see it now, so it will come eventually. So I did kind of a supernatural theme, ghosts, mummies, vampires, that kind of thing. So that was the initial deck. But it's essentially an exercise in mathematics, you know, doing damage to people, taking away the strength. Last one with any strength wins. So you could do different themes. So I did a dinosaur theme. Different weapons do different amounts of damage. And then I did a Simpsons theme. So it is themable. You could do a Harry Potter. You could do whatever you wanted. So the next decision on that one is a bit more play testing with like 2 players. I've not played it too much with 2 players for a while. So need to do that. And then the next step is decide what to do with it. Do I approach a game company with it, or do I, you know, self-publish it on Kickstarter, that kind of thing. And then I did another one. That's this one. It's called Jack the Ripper. For those who don't know, in 1888, a series of unsolved murders in Whitechapel in London. And you've got location cards, so you've got to make your way around different crime scenes and Scotland Yard and the mortuary, places like that, and pick up evidence. There's the backs of the cards. There's the blood spatter evidence. And investigation cards, and they determine what you do. You know, do you go to a location? Do you pick up some evidence? But the evidence and the location are colour matched. So if you're picking up blood spatter, I don't know how well that'll come out, but it's got a green icon in the corner, and that location, the crime scenes are green. So you can only pick certain evidence up in certain locations. So that is another one that's finished and ready for play testing. You know, how many movement cards are in each deck and that kind of thing. So I just need to work out the math on that one. And another one that I found, I didn't make this one, but I went down the rabbit hole of print and play games, and it was apparently a big thing in lockdown. So lots of card games, lots of games you can play solo, games you can play with your family.
Pardon me.
But you're basically printing it off at home and playing it. So I did this one, laminated it all, so there's all the cards there. And this is a good one. I recommend you pick this up if you're at all interested in this kind of thing. It's called Handy Brawl. It's a free download. You download the PDF, print it off double-sided, and you end up with cards. So there's all these different characters. There's the information on each character. And then these are the game cards. So top left, you'll see a full leaf icon. That means you've got full health. And as you do damage to different with different things, you lose half health and then no health. Just a great game. You play it with a hero and a monster, and the deck, there it is. You see all the different coloured cards. There's about 8 different characters in there, and you can pick one hero, one monster, and you pit them against each other. It's just do what it says on the card, do damage to someone, move the card around the deck, rinse and repeat. It's much better than it sounds, but it is fantastic. So I've been printing those out, cutting them out, laminating them, all that kind of stuff. Found quite a few games that you can do that with. Just have a look on what is it? Board Game Geek is a great site for it. And so you know the thing, you go on YouTube and you watch a video about something, then you get a week's worth of videos all suggested for you on the same thing. And there was a game that popped up. So I did some gameplay videos on people playing various games. And one that popped up was Mystery of the Abbey. So we are massive Cluedo fans. And we always take Cluedo away on trips with us. I've got a few different versions of Cluedo, a board game, a card game, lots of different ones, a couple of different themes. And there's one that's kind of like Cluedo It takes Cluedo to the next level. It's called Mystery of the Abbey, and it's been out of print for a few years, but it's pretty much sought after. There's a few on eBay for 100 and odd quid, and I went on Board Game Geek and picked one up for, I think it was 50. There's a new company picked up the publishing rights for it. They may do a reprint, but I think brand new the game was like 40 odd quid. There's lots of cards and a big board and lots of rules and stuff, but it just looks a fantastic game just watching the video of it. So I picked that up for 50 quid off Board Game Geek. And that is just about my busy month.
Well, that was a busy month.
It was.
Yeah, I didn't do anything so exciting. I've been busy as hell, but most of it just work stuff. So I did have a little impromptu surprise. I finally decided to upgrade 3D printers. Now I've upgraded the model I got. The very first one I got, I was using to print a lot of show related stuff. That's how all the plastic pieces for the CG Adventures were made. I since then moved on to another printer, and I just got one that just to give them a plug because they make such a great unit here is the QIDI. I have no idea how to pronounce this thing. Kitty. I don't freaking know. I don't really care. But this particular one is the X-CF Pro. Its sort of express design is to print carbon fiber and nylon and a lot of your other fiber reinforced thermoplastics, right? So I was just finishing doing all the alignment and configuration and stuff, and I have a test print running right now. But I've got the old one, and I decided to give it to a friend of mine because I just, I'm piling up 3D printers at an astronomical rate. So I found all of the STL files for the original CG Adventures parts. So I've got all the ones for UK Mike and myself and SoCal and Keith and Carl. I actually thought that those had been lost. I had the G code, but the G code would only ever work really with that printer or one that was super close to it. So, as I was digging around, I finally found all of the original designs in the STLs. So I can reproduce these things again, no problem. But I am getting rid of that original printer. And there's nothing wrong with this, just that there's so much more stuff you can do these days with the newer models. So anyway, I had a decent quantity of the original filament, not huge amounts, but like a roll here, a roll there. And I just hadn't done anything with them. And we're coming up on the 10th anniversary of CG Adventures. So I figured, well, let me burn up some filament, right? So now at this point, the filament does age. Even if you blow the moisture out of it real well in a dehydrator box, it still ages. So it's been kind of a test printing 10-year-old or at least 9-year-old 3mm film. But so one of the things I'm doing is I'm printing a production run of the original figures in their original size. That way I can do I'll do as much as I have filament for. So probably 2 dozen each. So I'll have the hot pink SoCal and then the silver Scott and the gray or blue SoCal UK Mike. Mike, are you still there, or did you step away for a minute?
I'm still here.
Good. I was hoping you hadn't picked this moment to go.
I'll just put a picture up because
whiz.
I'm messing about in the background.
All pantsless and whatnot. So I printed, I realized I had just enough left over to do a limited run of giant size figures, right? So the original figures were about 2 inches tall, just slightly under standard action figure size, the ones for the board game. So I decided to print a series of 6-inch tall mega figures. So thus far, I have done this one. Now, this creepy fucking thing, I'm telling you, man, I would its eyes follow you as you walk around the room. It's really weird, man. I had it in the sitting here on the studio shelf, and I went out to get something. I come back, I'm like, nah, I just fucking lay it face down. It's like the Tiki God from the Brady Bunch, But there it is, man. The giant size SoCal 3D printer, So the next will be the UK Mike, and then the Scott, and then the Keith, and that should burn up the remaining plastic. So I'll use up all the original filaments. So we'll figure out something nice to do. I figured the right thing to do is to send Random and Sparkling and UK a set of everything I print, since they're a part of it, and then I think we'll have literally a remaining set. So I think we'll have a set in gold. We'll have a set in
exclusive
the
colors.
original colors. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to do a limited run in gold because we know those exclusive colors, the value of that. So, yes, in homage to that, I will be printing a gold set to give away. I'll be printing a set of giant figures. So we got to figure out a contest or something. I figure we'll give away the giant figures as a set, and then we'll give away the gold ones and the original color ones as a set. So anyway, that's going on there. Other than that,
just before you carry on, you should do that big creepy one
sir.
in glow in the dark.
Oh, I don't know if I want to do that.
And you need to keep a few sets back that you don't tell anyone you've made, and then in 10 years' time, when they're rare and going on eBay, you slowly drip feed them back out into the market and profit. I think that's how it works.
Or I pump the market up, and then I have a box of like literally 20, 30 more, and I stuff the box first and then pile them on top. And I show a picture of potentially there's hundreds of these things, which destroys and collapses the market. And I sit back and collect the profits.
You sell some to Mike on eBay, and he buys them for 1,000, and then you'll sell some to me on eBay. I buy them for 1,200, and then before you know it, the next set you'll just sell to some idiot for 1,500.
Any idiots out there?
Too many.
But yeah, it's going to be cool just having, some limited runs and some exclusive colors. If I know we have the old Kickstart from the RVGS archived, so we can go in and see what the colors offered were and just title them that. But so that's that. Game wise, been playing a little bit more Commodore, just kind of running through the library, here and there. Been playing more online games with Trade Wars and a couple others on the BBS machine. But one thing I did not see myself getting back into is a couple friends hit me up about going into Fallout 76. And, I haven't messed with that in forever. So, they assured me the major problems had been rectified. So I thought, wow, look at that gang behind you there, Mike. But I decided to give it a go. So what's funny is I threw in the original disc. No, it wasn't. The original disc was long gone. I threw in the. How did I end up with the second one? Oh, I think it was in that. I bought a box of games at a yard sale, and I think anyway, I ended up with another copy. So it was an older one though, so I threw it in, and it had a 80 gigabyte download. Like literally, they're not reusing probably one line of code from the original game. So I've been running around Fallout 76 a little bit. Yeah, there are some things like when I played that the first go around, man, you would have these zombies with unlimited ammunition, and it would take you 10 shotgun rounds to kill one of these things. And they had one 10mm round. It was just an utterly broken game. A little bit better now, but that's kind of what I've been up to. So, Random, on to you, sir.
All right. Well, I've not been doing a great deal. Certainly nowhere near as much as Mike. I've just been spending a lot of time finding excuses to lie around and try and look after myself. But fortunately, the F1 season came along, so there's been plenty of hours worth of dull entertainment to sit and stick on while I'm in the bath or just on the sofa. And then I've been sort of very slowly getting through Final Fantasy X because I keep just spending far too much time just finding good grinding spots and just like mindlessly grinding and just sort of almost like meditatively just turn my brain off and find the most efficient way to sort of kill the various monsters in the area, and just sort of keep whacking away. But I was messing about with my PC the other weekend, sort of giving it a bit of a clean out, moving some things around in it. While I was doing that, I had to unplug my RGB Pi cable, but I plugged that back in. And then last week, I fired that back up because I hadn't used it for ages. And I still can't believe the display quality that does onto a CRT. Especially, if you've ever used the composite out on a Pi, just for retro gaming, it's not in the same league at all. It's amazing. Having that actual proper native resolution of the consoles directly piped to the TV, it's fantastic. And then we did end up watching a bunch of films. So we watched some old films. Started watching through the Die Hards, Independence Day, Commando, Speed. After Commando, we ended up watching Samaritan, which is a sort of a modern superhero movie with Stallone, which wasn't very good, but kind of all right, good. I'm sort of glad I watched it in a strange way. Recently watched Cocaine Bear, which was all right. I don't think it was as
I mean, it was worth a watch.
I don't think it was as funny as they wanted it to be necessarily. But it was.
Kids were kind of funny, but the adults were. It was a lot of like the kids set up some good jokes, but then the adults were kind of like, just all right, let's run around and set the scene for the next joke for the kids to make. It was. But it was okay, it was watchable, but it wasn't amazing. I don't know. It's hard to really justify.
And then watched Knock at the Cabin as well, which is the most recent M. Night Shyamalan film, which was kind of, I was engrossed and eager and sort of wanting to see where it was going. But I had this sort of thought 3/4 of the way through, as the sort of M. Night paradox hit, and I was kind of like, well, I'm now going to be sitting here thinking, what's the twist? Where's this going? That's going to ruin my involvement with the film. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, there's no landing for them to try and stick here, whatever way they're going, surely. And sure enough, it kind of didn't really. They tried to do a bit of an emotional ending, but it was kind of like, well, but it would have been more fun if perhaps it went a bit more unexpected, a bit more off the rails. There was a little bit of leeway there for something to have happened, but it was all right. And then we watched Severance, the series, and the film again. The film, I think, also thought it was funnier than it actually is nowadays. But the series was quite fun. Amber found it really far too slow and painful to watch, but sort of struggled through it because everyone kept telling her that no, it's worth it. It gets to it in the end. But I was just happy enough, just with the sort of the bizarreness of the office and the aesthetics of the whole place. Really up my street, sort of mix of super ridiculous minimalism to a fault, and a bit of brutalism.
There's another show title: Super Ridiculous Minimalism.
And I quite liked, and I was, I like the fact that they're working on these old green screen terminals, just poking numbers around, and none of it means anything, but they're all sort of going along with it. And then in my next mid-season break of watching X-Files, I've started Halo. I'm about 2/3 through that now, and it's not been bad, but it's not great. But I think, I've certainly enjoyed watching it. Some of the action sequences, which are actually surprisingly rare, I was kind of a bit, these are a bit hammily put together, and they feel a bit like a cutscene from a video game. And then I rewatched the intro to Halo 5, and it's almost exactly the same, like, kind of action and the same sort of moves they're all doing and the same sort of combat. And I was like, okay, so they have just completely aped taken that, and it's possibly intentional, or possibly they just went, yeah, it'd be really cool if we do it like this. But I think as a TV thing, it doesn't quite work. But the general story of it, I'm actually much more interested in Halo lore now than I was before. Where before I'd play them, and yes, there's story going on, but I couldn't tell you what the story is of any of them, any of the games is. But this has kind of made me think, oh, all right, okay, this is kind of setting up the origin of the Master Chief and the Spartans, and actually, these characters, I recognize the names, and so it's got a bit about their backgrounds and what makes them tick, and that's actually been sort of fairly interesting. So yeah, that's been about it.
So you mentioned a possible show title there. I think we've got more potentials this month than we have had in a while. Let's have a look. An Evening of Self-Preservation definitely deserves...
I love that one.
Definitely deserves to hang. Intellectual Honesty, Perceptual Cramming, Scrabbling Back Up the Hole, and Slip It in the Out. So I shall add
Been a good month for that.
any others to the list as we go. So let's go then. We do have some people popped in live, so that was nice. Good evening, everyone who's in chat.
Oh,
the usual suspects.
that reminds me, speaking of the people live, and the one thing I did do was finally send out show prizes. And we've had confirmation that some of those have arrived. I should imagine the Canada one probably hasn't yet.
Yeah.
But all of the prizes that I had to send out are sent out. I don't know whether Mike sent his Puyo Puyo out, which he thought I had.
I didn't,
Which
because
I
I
don't
didn't
think I
find it.
Okay.
So, Gareth, if you're listening, you're getting something else instead. But
Or maybe I do have it. I'll have another look.
yeah, I emptied the Lucky Dip, which is right at the side of me, and it's not in there, so God knows where it's gone. I'll probably just buy Gareth a few beers next time at Blackpool.
It's in the museum shop.
Yeah, it could well be. So speaking of prizes, let's give a few more away. So for those in chat, when you hear the prize alarm, which I think this month will be this.
I want to ISO this.
I want to ISO this. So when you hear that in the show over the next couple of hours, type in the chat room, I want to ISO this. And the first person to do so will win a prize. It's that simple. If you go to retrogamingroundup.com/prizes, you will see the potential prizes up for grabs. So Random might post the link in chat while I do the first news item, which comes from Lord Neil. This month, Neil Barmer. Is that Spinal? I forget. And this is... this little computer thingy is awesome, he says. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'll say a little bit more. So it's a floppy disk drive case, and somebody has made an actual computer out of it. He's got a chapter heading here, how, and in brackets, why I made it. So it's a long article, a lot of pictures, and you will need to read that at your leisure, because if I did, we wouldn't get any more news items in. So thank you for that one, Neil.
I've got one here from David Gyrick, and this is a YouTube video. Imagine what if the Game Boy camera was like this if it was released. Oh no, it's called Imagine if this was the Game Boy camera Nintendo released in 1998. Got there. That was a struggle for my brain. We've seen a few of these, like lens adapters and things for the Game Boy camera, but this is actually completely replacing the actual imaging sensor by the looks of things. Using various 3D printed bits and pieces, makes an actual brand new camera that's compatible with the Game Boy, and it still looks 2-bit 4-color well, not quite monochrome, is it? But it's again like some of the ones where they were doing motorsport photography with Canon lenses on them. You can actually get pretty decent pictures out of such a limited resolution, which is good. I always like bits and pieces like that.
Yeah, that thing has had a lifespan I didn't expect to see it have.
Yeah.
I remember when it first appeared in the in the stores, and just the, I don't know, man, like a camera for the Game Boy, sure. What can you do? You can print a sticker. Okay, that'll be come and gone. And the damn thing has lived forever. Oh, Mike's promoting his book subtly.
I'm trying to work
Yes.
out which hand and where the green screen ends. So
I thought you were having a seizure at first, but then once the concern passed, I figured out you were just promoting your book.
yeah.
Doing the world's shittest Macarena.
Hey, Macarena. Aye.
Well, I tell you what, if you haven't yet gotten a copy of Smoke and Mirrors, you really need to. It's a hell of a lot of work. The actual true story behind the Coleco Chameleon debacle, and the creators of said things. So,
And you can
got
pick
one here
up a
from David Gyrich.
just before you do, you can pick up a signed
Yes.
copy at the Northwest Computer Museum. They've got some in the shop there, and I believe I sold one yesterday.
Who signed them?
The guy who works behind the cafe counter.
All right.
Every
Is
month.
it Hubert?
Yeah.
Oh, this didn't go the right way.
Fine.
4 hours a month, I can
Right.
barely make my rent.
To mum, lots of love. Fine.
But why? Oh gosh! All right, got one here from David Gyrich, and it's a good one. It's a German Zelda strategy guide that's been scanned and uploaded. I thought, was ist das? Das is good. So it is a German language. So basically everything's in German, but it's even if you don't like, I speak German fairly well. Comprehension's pretty high. Used to be native, but could speak almost native. But when you don't have people to speak with every day, there is a shelf life on that. So, it's basically Legend of Zelda. It looks like it's actually the Game Boy and the NES. It's kind of a compilation of them. But it's a full strategy guide. Even if you don't speak German, you can take a look at the artwork. It was just a beautiful effort, tremendous effort that they put into this thing. So I highly recommend taking a look at the link.
Yep, the pictures are in English. David Gyrich was on the roll here. I think we've got the first 6 from him, something like that. This one was marked as spam, which it pretty much is. The making of Sorcerian. The most groundbreaking JRPG you've never played. And he's right there. It's also the most groundbreaking one I've never heard of. So you can check out that link in the show notes. All the links that we talk about this evening will be, of course, in the show notes.
And got one here from David Gyrich as well. And this one, man, I'm David, thank you for sending these in. This one I'm going to have to burn up some late night hours watching. And it's a guy here. It's a YouTuber. His channel is RND Stranger. So RND Stranger. And what he does is about a 5 to 6 minute video every day hovering the Nintendo Famicom. And it's called Famadaily. So it's a daily video reviewing a Famicom game, which is great because nowadays, with the multi-carts and all, we can just sit there and play and emulation. We can sit there and play every Famicom game there ever was. And some of them are very familiar to us. Some of them are not. So, it is, fortunately it's in English, which was a huge help. So he gives kind of like the name, the date, the publisher, and then gives a 5-6 minute breakdown of what the game is. So very nicely done. I really enjoy that. I'm going to have to give it a watch.
Before I do another one from David Gyrich, I will remembered that we've had that German strategy guide in noticed, I was in a German gaming magazine while I was working on international track and field on the DS. I've got scans of it because I've managed to find someone in a forum in Germany to send me a copy of it. So at some point, if I remember, I should put those scans on the website in the gallery.
You should.
Yeah, and it'll you'll see how ridiculous we look. So the news item is a big deep dive on en.sega Dreamcast info gamespreservation.com. A deep dive into the Half-Life build for the Dreamcast that never made its way out. Did of course make its way to the PS2 in sort of not, well, actually sort of fairly reasonable form considering. But yeah, the Dreamcast was kind of looks quite well from what I've seen of it in the past, but it's just maybe a bit too much for that system for a game like that. But yes, a very, very nice little article chronicling all of the history and tribulations.
Got one here from Charlie, and it's kind of unrelated to the show, but a topic though that always interests me. And yes, a lot of new EVs do not have AM radio. They're dropping it, saying that the motors generate a lot of interference, which is true, and it causes buzzing, fading. Yes, an EV would be a pretty brutal environment for AM radio to work without interference. I get that. I've said it before many times. EVs are not for me at this point. I love the idea of it. I mean, I've been hot rodding gas my whole life. I can't wait to buy an EV to hot rod or build one, honestly, because I think the performance potential is tremendous to get more power and more torque out of these things. The problem I have, though, is one, it's being sort of mandated, and that's a non-starter. The other thing is that you don't really own it. I mean, you have to pay in full before you get the title. But even once you have the title saying that you own this vehicle, right? You don't really own it. You don't have sovereignty over it. The manufacturer can and will intrude into the vehicle software and make changes that can disable features that you may or may not care to disable. And, possibly say even deny a trip, just simply shut down and say, no, we're not going. I have no interest in that whatsoever. And the idea that AM radio, there's performance issues, right? But just tag it. Just, when you hit AM, the first time have a little box come up that just simply says, while in motion, this vehicle will interfere with AM radio due to, 140-year-old technology colliding with present technology. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Handle your business, I would like to see that, and then leave them in the vehicle. It's circuitry-wise, it's free to include. So,
question for you, Scott: is AM radio still a growing concern in the States? I suppose with the vastness of the country and places, it helps, but
okay, yes and no. I mean, no, it's not growing or major. It does serve a utility, yes. I mean, you get what's called a blowtorch station, which is a big, high wattage, station that can cover, vast states at a time, right? So yes, I mean that exists. That's true. And so like if you live in the western part of the country, AM radio can provide a great utility, right? So yeah, that's true. But like day to day, like in an urban environment, there are like, sports stations on AM still, but no, it's not like a resurging technology.
Yeah, it just strikes me as like, I'm surprised that most car radios haven't dropped AM by now. It's probably just that it built into the chipsets, that come with the FM as well, but.
Yeah, it costs nothing to include. Nothing.
Yeah.
So why not?
So a couple of quick fire ones here. One from David Gyrick. We had this last month, but if you weren't listening then and are listening now, this is the next Stern Pinball. Is going to be Foo Fighters based. And we've talked, I think probably the last 2 or 3 shows about former Sonic boss Yuji Naka being arrested for insider trading. Apparently he's admitted it and said, yeah, that was me. Did that. So
Could be the
They
first.
took off his
retro-
rings. That'd be great. Haul his ass in the court, beat him soundly, and all of his rings pop out, and he can grab a few before he runs out of court.
It could be the first retro gaming luminary criminal to actually admit that they're a criminal, rather than them all just feign ignorance.
Yeah, the harsh denials are getting a bit old. Yeah, I did it.
there's a local one to you there, Random. Did you see that?
There is. Yes, this was an epic fuck up, to say the least. So there's I think we've been to the food hall that's next to the video game museum. Well, we think we went for a beer, maybe. I don't know whether we ate, but the building that the National Video Game Museum in Sheffield is housed in has a food hall alongside it. But there used to be an old co-op food shop, and the landlord who owned the building, leased it out to these other companies, and then they went bust and made a massive fuck up of transferring to the new landlords and all sorts of shit, and no one knew who was supposed to be paying who, except the people who were actually in it doing the work and trying to make a living. They're all trying to pay someone, but it was not really going anywhere. So they all turned up one day, and basically because the food hall side had fucked up, the landlord ended up locking all of the doors to the building, so the National Video Game Museum got locked out as well. And I think it did actually get. I don't know if I've followed up, but I think it did all get resolved after a couple of days, at least temporarily. But yeah, it could be rocky times for the museum, depending on what happens with new landlords and rates and whatnot. Because they weren't exactly overflowing in cash after paying the rent previously.
No,
'Cause,
I don't think we went in
it's
the food hall. I think we went to Weatherspoons.
Ah, maybe.
Mm.
Oh yeah, went to look at the rats.
Yeah, across the road. What's this one? The ultimate hardware demo. And the man who does the hardware flashback has vacated. I spotted this today and mind blown, says Sean Stevenson. Sean Stevenson to his friends. Too good not to share, despite it being a year or so old. And it is a demo running on a 1541 drive, literally. It is an old one. We have seen it before, but it is pretty crazy. It's a YouTube video, so you need to watch it to appreciate it. So thank you for that, Sean, and thank you for popping back in with a news item.
Yeah, Sean.
Did you read the one?
I was going to say thanks also.
Yeah, we've not heard from Sean for a little while, I don't think.
Nope.
Used to be sending in a lot more. Did you do the one of the comment on the October live news stream?
I didn't. I was going to wait for Scott to be back for that, so we all heard it.
Okay.
This one, forwarded by me. It was sent via YouTube, as Random says. It was a comment on October last year's live news. And it's from, should I give the name? Something Smith, let's just say that. And his comment was, "This is my favourite podcast ever. Been a fan since 2012. You guys used to read all my dumb emails I sent in." Well, send us some more and we'll read those as well.
What was you saying?
Why stop there?
Yeah.
We love reading dumb emails.
We've sent enough.
I hate typing long URLs. So.
Oh man, speaking of dumb emails and podcasts and things, so the giant bomb of a sort of an answer machine call-in show, and for the last few weeks I've managed to end up with them like me basically saying nothing really much more than fanny batter and having them end up pre-selecting them and then reading them out and being like, what the hell is fanny batter? I don't know. And then like other streams they've done later in the week, there was one it was a birthday stream for two of the guys. One of the guys just halfway through just went, they were sitting like they're playing Garfield and John Arbuckle's like in the background doing something, and one of the guys was like, "What the hell is John doing over there?" And the other guy just goes, "He's getting his fanny batter." And I'm just sat there just pissing myself. I'm like, how long can I go weekly just sending in like voicemails saying fanny batter and getting them read out
until they find out what it means?
Wait, that sounds like a euphemism for baby batter. So,
well, I was going to say,
here we
they're
are.
baby gravy.
Got another one here from David Geirich. Now, this one I know I read about and certainly have heard about, but I if we covered it on the show already, apologies. But it says here the use your Wii U. Okay, why? Well, here's a reason why. It self-bricks if not used. So, it says here you could brick the Nintendo Wii U just for not using it. So apparently, and I read this article a little while ago. Basically, you fire up the Wii U after it's been sitting for a number of years, as it's prone to do, and you get a 160-0103 error, and it says a system memory failure. There's no recovery. There's no fixing it. There's nothing. It's just a bricked Wii U. And Nintendo's like, I don't care. So they're not going to do anything for you, and you can't make them. So that is the state of the Wii U. I've got one sitting here next to the PS5 and the Wii. And I think to myself, I could reach up there and just plug everything that's into the Wii into it and update it. Can I be bothered to get up? So,
well, I mean, I was going to say, fortunately, everyone who's got a Wii U certainly doesn't have it just sitting around collecting dust and not getting used and being at risk of bricking. But more fortunately, with what's the Pi embedded controller thing? What do they call that? Is that just called a Pi Nano? I can't remember. But the one that's basically a microcontroller rather than a PC. You can use that to recover them. So there's people have figured out how to fix them now, at least.
So you can put an external writer on the NAND and write a NAND. Yeah, but I mean, your average user is kind of screwed.
Well, yeah. But that means there'll just be loads of cheap Wii U's on eBay that you can fix. And then leave on your shelf doing nothing.
Oh, great, cheap Wii U. Yeah,
well, something that isn't cheap, sent in by me, is from Jersey Jack Pinball. And their new game, the 50th anniversary of The Godfather. And they've done a pinball to commemorate that. Looks like they've only done two versions, a collector's and a limited. The limited is $12,000, and the collector's edition is $15,000 of your dollars. So not cheap. Not. I mean, I love the film.
Gold?
It could be. I love the film. I guess it would transfer okay to a pinball. I'd need to see it. I think that one.
I mean, yeah, I can see having good, voice clips.
Oh, the dialogue's quite subdued, though.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess.
Or fuzzy, because he's got cotton wool in his mouth.
Yeah. Well, that's you could just get away with putting bad speakers on it.
The machine has bad speech and spits all over you.
On the day of my daughter's birthday, weekend day.
It's got bad speech and it spits on you while it's talking.
Ask if you want a cab ride home. So, got one here from Gareth Hamer, and it says IntelliContra, and I thought, what the Intella is he talking about? So, somebody is doing a homebrew of Contra on the Intellivision. So, funny thing, the sprites are quite lower resolution than the Nintendo one, of course. There are sort of large areas of, and Nintendo frequently did this exact same thing, sort of large areas of blackness that they just don't draw anything to the screen because, well, they used up all the resources elsewhere. So, a track screen looks pretty good. I would say this looks like the equivalent of, say, a Sega Master System port of a game compared to the Sega Genesis. So this on the Intellivision looks like a junior version, but completely playable, completely usable. And I hope it ends up being a finished product. And I would love to buy a card of these. It looks pretty darn good.
I sent one in that I liked because it's a topic that I like, but also because they use the word specificity, which I think is something that I think at least Scott likes to use quite often.
Pretty specific.
Yeah, it's you don't usually see it that often. But this is a programming language called NESFAB that someone's created, which he started making a C compiler for the Nintendo Entertainment System, so he didn't have to write 6502 assembly. But then he kind of ended up making it a bit more, wanted to make it more sort of user-friendly, and sort of made essentially his own language that should be a bit more human readable, a bit easier to work with, and saves you from having to do any sort of hardcore coding and assembly or anything to make your own NES games. So it's got a few tutorials on there and bits and pieces. So yeah, could be fun to check out if you're so inclined.
I want to ISO this.
Oh, so I just clicked on one here. I did watch this as it came in because it was mighty interesting. It's another YouTube video, so you'll need to go and watch it to appreciate it. It's from Gareth Hamer, who's live in chat, and it is a 3D engine for the Amiga 1200. And it is indeed just that. It's a tech demo of Spyro the Dragon, and you're making your way around a Spyro level. But you are obviously doing it. Well, I'm doing it via YouTube, but the original was done via the Amiga 1200. Looks pretty impressive by any stretch of the imagination. So thank you, Gareth, for that.
Not sure about the colours.
There's a lot. Well, Spyro's quite pink and purple and bright anyway, isn't it? But
yeah, true.
Yeah. So let's see if anyone claimed the prize. Piff Merkin is in there twerking his Merkin. No one has typed the phrase that pays yet. Maybe they forgot what it is. I think Piff missed it, the announcement, what it was. It was exactly what this guy says.
I want to ISO this.
So if you missed it at the start, that's what the phrase that pays is. And there's a prize still up for grabs. What have we got here? ROTT prototype found. I guess it uses the Wolf 3D engine, says David Gyrick again. I think we should send David Gyrick a prize just for sending in so many damn emails this month. And ROTT, of course, is Rise of the Triad. I nearly said tripod for some reason. It's Triad. This is a 1993 prototype of the game when it was still supposed to be a sequel to Wolfenstein 3D. Is it playable? It includes the prototype and DOSBox staging to make it run on modern machines, so I guess it is. How complete it is, I don't know. There's an update on the 15th of this month. They added a complete version of it, which I guess makes it playable, or worth the trouble at least. Midnight Radio in chat says, I want to isolation this. That wasn't quite what he said though, was it? But we'll give it to you anyway, unless you're in America and it's going to cost us in postage. So make your way over to retrogamingroundup.com/prizes and choose your prize. He then said, what happened to Sparkle? Sparkle hasn't been able to join us this month. He is otherwise engaged with work.
He tried.
He did. He was supposed to be here and then isn't. So he will hopefully be back next month because he missed the top 10 as well.
Yeah.
Not been a good month for him for schedule-wise. So
No.
all right, got one here from Lord Neil Ballmer. And here's a great little video about a NES handheld that never happened. So I saw that this popped up a little while ago, And this guy was kind of doing like a Ben Heck thing when Ben Heck started first making the cut down consoles, right? So a fellow here had sort of figured out how to do a cut down console, and he made a Nintendo. So it was called the Express. Well, tried to make it, wanted to sell it, sold some other things, but couldn't get this done. So looks like it never happened as a final product, but there's a lot of effort to make it. But America, the manufacturer, it sort of charts their trajectory too of, where they came from, other things they made, and then sort of the end of it. But it's a good 10-minute video. It's kind of all there is to tell about it, but definitely worth a watch.
And they use Dizzy footage in some of the B-roll, so we always like a bit of Dizzy around here.
We love it on this show. Love it.
Yeah,
all of us.
I was just talking with actual Sparkle. I was talking with him last night, and I was showing him the Marvin Milk model that that Willie Culver graciously made for me when we discussed a practical alternative, of course, to a ridiculous egg shape. If you're going to have a food product as an action figure, at least let it be milk. It can be a liquid and flow under a door, turn into like a solid block of cheese and be impervious to bullets, and then transform into powder and blow away with the wind to escape an enemy or climb an objective. So I could absolutely see Marvin Milk being a hell of a Sega Genesis game.
It should be. If somebody out there wants to make it, get on with it.
Oh yeah, we'll release the rights. You just make it. I just want to play it.
I think definitely one of his forms needs to be mixed with vinegar so that he can turn into a rubber bouncy polymer of some description. Definitely remember doing that over the stove and annoying my parents at some point when I was younger.
Where'd the gallon of milk go? Why are there plastic balls all over the place?
Boing.
He's milk balling again, Martha.
Yet another one from David Gyrick. Montezuma Revenge is back. The return of the Revenge of Montezuma. This is the 40th anniversary edition coming to modern gaming systems with an all-new adventure. I'm guessing at the systems, but I'm guessing it's going to be Switch at least, maybe Steam. Does it say here? Current consoles and PC, so all the usual places.
Got one from Gareth Hamer, which is Supercharged Mario Kart, and the title of it is This Mario Kart 8's 400cc mod must never be unleashed. And when you read into it, it's basically someone modded the game so that the 200cc mode, everything about it was doubled. So obviously, the karts go faster, but then also all of the steering's faster and everything, and it all sounds a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. So maybe a fun little proof of concept exercise, but possibly not practical.
Yeah.
Well, no, but who cares? Got one here from David Gyrich, and it is the Namco PlayStation book. So, fellows got a Kickstarter here. We love those. But I'll say this, man. For a while, Kickstarter seemed to be kind of a has-been. I think a lot of things on Kickstarter were poisoned. I mean, in terms of trust and quality and all. And a little bit of an effort for things coming back lately. So I'm certainly pleased to highlight, a better-looking project. So Guy here has the 32-bit library, Volume 2, Namco's PlayStation, a chronological retrospective of all Namco games on the original PlayStation from 1995 to 2001. 236-page book, 600 screenshots. He needed $4,400 to get it printed. He has $6,700, 94 backers, 9 days to go as of this. So when it comes out, you should have 3 or 4 days. If you're interested, go to the show notes, click on the link, and go back to this project. Good to see people out there making and not being hunted like if he did the same thing about Nintendo, he might end up having an issue. So hopefully
Well,
Namco is cool about it and understands its fandom.
Even Sega's cracking down on book projects nowadays, which is fucking stupid.
Yeah, but
Well, they're probably busy working on their next console.
book projects and Kickstarter. So there is a ton of stuff on there. Ton of books. The kind of continuations of the Sherlock Holmes character. So I'm a big fan of Conan Doyle in the original Sherlock Holmes books, and people have started writing their own versions of it, and there's just a ton of them on Kickstarter. They're cropping up all the time. I have bought one or two. Some are better than others, but it seems to be like the same handful of authors doing it. And I bought a couple, but it's just full of them at the moment. And this game here, this Jack the Ripper that I did consider making that a Sherlock Holmes and putting it on Kickstarter, because and I could always do that, just retheme it, but it's crazy how popular that character is.
Wow, here's a really cool project. Again, David Gyrich on fire this month with the news. So David here has sent us one Sonic arcade game dumped. So the English language version of Sega Sonic Cosmo Fighters has been dumped and released online. So, rare piece of Sonic the Hedgehog's history has been found and made available to us all. English language version of Cosmo Fighter. So what they did is they dumped the ROM and released it to the world. So it's out there. You can grab it, However, obviously it requires a whole implementation in MAME to be able to run. It's not just going to suddenly work. So it's not yet playable. You can figure this will be, hopefully in a future version of MAME, it'll be supported. However, the capable have already been picking apart the ROMs to extract things that they could identify, in particular audio. So they're out already pulling the music from the ROMs and playing it in audio players. And I think in some time here, we will see a working version. So looking forward to it. I can't wait to play that one in MAME.
So we've had a Stern pinball, we've had a Jersey Jack pinball, and now we've got a Chicago Gaming Company pinball. They released a new trailer this month for their new game that's coming out, which is Pulp Fiction. Great film. I think a great theme for a pinball as well. Lots of different mini stories in there, different aspects to the main story. So there is a video of it on YouTube. You can see the trailer. It looks good, I have to say.
David Gyrich has sent in another book that you can buy. That is the Handheld History, which is a book all about, obviously, as it sounds, handheld games and gaming. Although it looks like the first Handheld History is not actually for sale at the moment, but there is a Handheld History 88 to 95, which is available, which obviously covers the years 88 to 95. I assume the other one's a bit more broader and covers more sort of modern things. So you wouldn't want any of that anyway. Rubbish, innit?
No. Just going back to chat, Midnight Radio says he was playing Boogerman and it reminded him of Marvin Milk.
David Diarrhea.
Got one here from David Gyrich again. And it is Sega the Future. Next Gen Showcase revealed in full for first time. So this was a behind closed doors presentation at E3 in 2005. And they have a very nice young lady here and some fellers that came over from Sega to show off the future. And it's really cool. I mean, there is some neat footage here. And then some of the talks about their upcoming plans and all that. Pretty impressive. Yeah, I would love to see Sega return to making hardware, man. That's if Sega came out with a new console, I would be in line immediately.
It's been interesting with that footage coming out because there's obviously, being 2005, there's a fair bit about what was the 2006 Sonic the Hedgehog game, which turned into the absolute utter shit show that it turned into. So it's quite fun to
That
sort
was
of
a sad state of
watch this, where it's actually sort of, looks like it might be a reasonably good game. And I don't know what the fuck went wrong. But yeah, it's quite a nice little thing that's finally come out into the public.
So this one didn't quite make it out to the public. I've got it in my list here, which is the list I used to build up the show notes links, but it's not in the inbox. So maybe I copied it into this list and forgot to send it. Maybe it got deleted as spam or whatever. But it's AI car repossession, and it's a patent in the States for a filing anyway for car repossession. So if you have a car, probably electric, certainly with some sort of auto driving feature, and you skip a payment, they'll send you a letter. If you don't make that payment, they'll make the car drive itself back to the dealership.
Now, that may be, but the problem is that capability would need to be, well, I mean, by the buyer can consent by or not consent by not buying the car that features that. But
Yeah.
I think that would be neat. That would have a positive removal clause upon receiving the title that, once the car is paid off, that you would absolutely receive a removal of that software as well. That's what goes back to what I was talking about their concept of you never really own it. You got to pay them in full, but they feel the right to barge in at any time and make changes. So, nope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, here's one Lord Neil Baumer sent in. A guy made a Lego GameCube. So what he made was he took a GameCube and he made a sort of an outer shell casing, if you will, that fits over the GameCube, or the GameCube fits within it. So it looks really good, man. I mean, it's a very nice looking shell. It's got a hinge that opens. So his GameCube is inside of it, and then he built a controller using Lego parts. So not sure the point of a Lego GameCube case other than it's cool, but it's cool.
Yeah, I went into it hoping it was going to be, along the lines that we've seen the NES, and they've done a Atari VCS, and they've looked really good sort of copies of the consoles. I thought, oh yeah, someone's made like got a sort of almost a bit of a how-to of like make your own nice looking GameCube for display. But yeah, sort of wrap this around a GameCube and a controller, and the controller unfortunately looks like even more of a nightmare to use than the actual standard GameCube controller, which is potentially saying something.
So one here, and there was a follow-up came in later that made it slightly confusing, suspicious, questionable, shall we say. So this came in from Alan Hedgedus, who's waiting for his prize in Canada. And he said, this is an interesting email, and it was sent to him from Atari. Invest in the success of Atari games. And they have got a funding on.
Toast. Sorry, Mike. Just your graphic there in your studio.
Oh, the toaster.
Did you? If I don't run through this now, I won't remember it. Did you guys see the fellow that bought a completed what do you call it? The dental cam that was made when the dental company owned the molds for the Chameleon?
No, I saw a white shell for sale in a shop. Someone had taken a picture of it, but I don't think it had the camera in it.
Yeah, I guess this was a working one. Apparently, they were pretty rare. So,
yeah,
as
so
are all things in that shell.
So Atari have a crowdfunding campaign going on Republic.com so that they can make games and be Atari. They're looking for $1 million. There's 129 days left to go, so it's a good old long campaign. They've so far got 151,500 from 80 investors. So there's people putting in a chunk of change each. It's not many backers for the amount they've got, but they're way off the target. But then later, one came in that they'd spent 10 million on acquiring
Night Dive Studios.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how many millions do you need?
I can only assume that the Atari games that needs $1 million is not the same as the Atari license holder and publisher that's bought Night Dive Studios for 10 million quid.
It can't be, because you can't outdo both things at the same time, surely.
No.
Even Atari haven't stooped that low.
I don't know what to think about that Night Dive Studios thing, because it's good that Night Dive have got the financial, a bit more financial sort of hopefully security, and they're not quite so independent of them on themselves. But then I do wonder if it's going to sort of hamstring some of the excellent work they've been doing in remaking, especially sort of old PC titles of late. And things like that. So we shall have to see what happens there.
In chat there, Tommy Uyamiko says,
That's great.
Yeah, says Atari using the same funding route as Amico. Shameful.
Wow.
Tommy Uyamiko. Ah. So another one here from Neil Barmer, and it's a Hackaday article. What haven't we seen Doom running on? I hear you cry. A Lego brick, I reply. Well, no, now we have. Some dude has got Doom running on a Lego brick. So you've seen the tiny Lego bricks have a little screen in them. He's got Doom running on it. What's he actually using? What does it say? Looks like he's built it into a ring. It's a ring on his finger. Does it say what it's running on? An RP2040 microcontroller, which is then hooked up to a tiny OLED screen. The components are placed in a silicon mold, which is then filled with transparent resin to form the brick. The screen is then powered via contacts in the bottom, much like older style Lego motors. Wow.
I'm powered by contacts in the bottom.
Probably.
Now we have one. That's what we needed. So, got one here from Dave Lanky. Allegedly, according to this Kotaku article, a film critic who liked the Tetris movie had never heard of Tetris. No. I don't think if you're alive on this planet and live in a country with electricity that you haven't heard of Tetris. I just don't.
Even with no electricity, it ran on batteries.
Yeah, I mean, if you had double A's, a nation built at least double A technology. I'm sorry. There might be one of those uncontacted tribes on an island in the South of Pacific. You show up and they're like, Tetris, no, not familiar. So other than that, no.
Another one from me, film related, is sent in a review of the pinball film we've mentioned earlier, because that was the first I'd heard of it. It was it's now on my watch list. You boys have already seen it though.
Mm-hmm.
I shall hopefully watch it next week on my holidays.
Yeah, it's good, worth a watch. So one here from Neil Barmer again, and we've talked about and heard of Stone Age Gamer on this show. Of course we have. They have brought out a new flash card, and it is the Flash Boy, which is a flash cartridge for the Virtual Boy, priced at $134.99. Does he say in the email it's new? His email says they've got it in stock, so maybe it's an old product and they've restocked it.
Yeah, that's what it has to be, because I'm looking at one right here.
Okay.
Basically, it's in fact, Pat Didurko that ran the arcade, him and Lonnie ran the arcade for us at CGE 2014.
Yeah.
That's the guy that wrote the software for loading the loading the stuff to it. Loading
right.
loading the ROM to the cartridge, right? Now it does support one ROM at a time, up to 2 megabytes. So basically, you have to write the ROM, put it in, hit go, play it, and then write a different ROM to play a different game. So it's not a multi-cart, but as much as you're going to actually play, let's face it, when are you going to really play the Virtual Boy? I like the Virtual Boy. I don't dislike it like many do. You're going to end up loading a ROM to it, taking it to a gaming night or an expo or something so people can see it or, for a review, but you're not going to day-to-day be switching between games. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big deal.
Well, it'd be nice if you had, like a multi-cart someone had made, with, it'd have to be an AliExpress job or something, but with basically, all of the library, which doesn't amount to much, just on one ROM chip.
Yeah, I'm curious how. Well, first of all, there's one barrier to that: Nintendo,
Right, yeah.
the same company that will leave you twisting for something like the Wii U NAND would certainly be right on you if you were to do something like I don't know, release a multi-cart with all their ROMs on it. They're saving up for that big re-release, and you don't want to get in their way.
There's a guy on screen holding a flash cartridge from Stone Age Gamer.
Isn't he, just?
I would say there's an Oculus Quest Virtual Boy emulator that works pretty well. So you can basically, essentially have a wander around Virtual Boy experience wherever you go. That is your jazz.
Well, an experience you
got another
can't.
submission here from David Gyrick again. And it says this is the 15 best Sega Genesis games of all time. Spark will be happy that Phantasy Star made the list. So let's see what we got here. Top 15.
Don't know how it compares to ours.
Beyond Oasis, Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra Hard Cops, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Echo the Dolphin, Gunstar Heroes, Monster World 4, Mortal Kombat 2, Phantasy Star 4, Shining Force 2, Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Streets of Rage 2, Super Street Fighter 2, Toe Jam and Earl. So, yeah, some pretty solid titles in there. Some that I really wouldn't play that much, and some that are missing, like where the actual hell is Golden Axe. But it's an okay list.
I can read you our list. The two outs were Dashing Desperados, Skateboarding Cowboys, Another World, Zoom, The Addams Family, Toe Jam and Earl, Flashback, Comic Zone, Golden Axe, Herzog Spy, Phantasy Star 3, Sonic 2, and the winner was the Chaos Engine. Our list is better.
I think so.
So, David Gyrick set off a hell of a lick, and he's keeping up a good pace, but coming up fast on the inside is Lord Neil Barmer with this one, a giant 3DS. Here is a guy building a giant 3DS. Looks cool, don't want one, he says. And nor do I, because this thing is huge. It's literally huge screens you stand in front of. It's the size of 2 tables, but yeah, he's done it. But just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Fun for an expo display.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. You're not going to play all your 3DS library on that thing for fun.
Was it, what was his name? Who did the giant Game Boys?
Matt Brown.
Matt Brown, yeah.
Yes. The Fruitcade and the giant Game Boy.
Yeah. And the giant joystick that shredded itself to death every expo.
And what was the first person Scalextric cars?
Yeah.
That was brilliant. Though.
Fly off the track and destroy themselves quite easily.
Yeah.
But A+ for effort.
Definitely.
Got another one here from David Gyrick. And it says here's a new Game Boy Advance PS1 game Kickstarter. So the Kickstarter is $6,800 of a $21,000 goal, 103 backers. 17 days to go as of recording this. So you've got roughly 2 weeks from when the show drops. If you're interested, it is called the Alice Sisters. It looks like a great Gianna Sisters clone of Mario the clone. So, and it runs on its 2 platforms. Oh, and the Atari Falcon 030.
Yeah. Will it run on
Hey,
this?
I've got an
yeah,
Atari
sure.
Falcon.
Throw it in.
But it isn't oddly placed.
So this one, again from David Gyrick, just about holding on to the lead, I think, is a poll of Final Fantasy titles. The best ones as voted for by Final Fantasy fans. And I can read you a list of numbers. They've got the top 15 here. So in reverse order, here we go. 2, 3, 1, 11, 13, 5, 15, 4, 7, 8, 10, 6. What's that? 14, 9, 7. There you go.
Done.
Yeah.
Um,
And that was me reading Roman numerals quickly.
in their effort to compete, Lord Neil Barmer has also sent in the Game Boy Camera mod that we read out earlier from David Gyrick. So that's an all-score draw for that one.
Oh, David's getting his nose in front again with Super Mario World prototype map has been discovered. And this, I did read this, but I can't remember where they discovered it. So let's have a look. A prototype map
Well,
from
it comes from,
GigaLeak.
yeah, like forever ago.
Oh, is it an old one? And it looks like a prototype. Super Mario
Yeah, it
World
says here
Hacker
the World
and
Hacker, and
yeah.
yeah, go ahead, sir.
Super Mario World hacker and researcher Codfish 1002 has fixed the corrupted graphics of Map B, a Super Mario World prototype map found in the GigaLeak created way back in '89. So almost forever ago. The map
Not to be outdone.
The map itself doesn't reveal anything other than what it looks like.
Yeah, not to be outdone, Lord Neil Barmer also has his own Super Mario World news story. And this is a remake of Super Mario World that someone has done using the new Super Mario Brothers engine, which they've called New Super Mario All-Stars HD. Not sure how I feel about this because I've never really thought the new Super Mario Brothers art style was that great. But hey,
I think it's an interesting direction to go in.
yeah,
But-
I mean, like, good.
Let's keep the original too.
Yeah, but nice to base that graphics engine on, solid level design. Yeah, bit of a fun one.
What did we have here? I was going to say something then, and I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. So I'll read this one.
You're going to talk about that thing regarding the other thing.
Yeah. This thing about those things sent by Lord Neil Barmer. Fast-ROM SNES game upgrades. And he says, I don't claim to know what any of this means. I suspect he's lying there. He's a clever old dude, this guy. But it sounds like some SNES games were intended to use slightly faster hardware in the carts, but were downgraded for cost. This guy, Canned12, has been converting these games to use the hardware they were intended to, resulting in 33% faster CPU speed and faster reads. And there is a list of the games, I think 80 SNES titles were intended to use fast ROM but didn't, and they have been converted. So would an emulator load them any faster? Surely not. Surely it's just if you're putting these on a cartridge, is it not?
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea how someone would code the faster read time. I mean, I don't know if that's just a variable you type in a number for, if it's a function of the emulation.
In my
Well, I'm
limited
assuming they would
knowledge-
have a better chip in the cartridge.
But yeah, I mean, in my limited knowledge, you're telling the CPU to interface with the address on the bus that you're putting that ROM part of the ROM address like available onto the data bus, and then it's a case of whatever that speed tops out at. Yeah, I don't know. Good question.
Well, that is more limited knowledge than I had. So I bounce your
Probably
limited
makes
knowledge.
no sense to anyone who knows what they're talking about. But hey, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Something else that sounds pretty good, one I sent in, which was the discovery of Gran Turismo 4 cheat codes almost 20 years later. And so this is a set of codes that you can either get 10 million credits, automatically pass all of the licenses, automatically get golds on all the licenses, and automatically get golds on any event. Sounds pretty useful. The downside is you need to have elapsed at least 365 in-game days before you can use them. So you can't just go straight in, pass all the licenses, and then enjoy the rest of it. But although, saying that, I do like the license challenges.
Yeah, some of them. Some of them are a bit finicky. One here sent in by Gareth Hamer. And it is Mighty Street Fighter, an upcoming Street Fighter for the Amstrad 128K, and it looks super cool. It's a blocky Street Fighter. Looks like an Amstrad game. Will play like an Amstrad game. But it's Street Fighter. Not my kind of game. I do have a bit of a soft spot for the system, but thank you for that, Gareth. And we're getting down to the last couple here.
I'm reading this one. I'm thoroughly perplexed. So here's one from Andrew Hane. And he says, "Hi, Mike." Not random.
Oh, yeah. He said no. He sent it to me and I forwarded it to news. I don't know why he did that, but he did.
Right on. So some listeners submitted this thing here. And it says, interesting article related to a bad experience to someone selling a retro item on eBay. So a retired fellow here sold a reel-to-reel tape recorder, basically listed on eBay, and it said here that he canceled the sale of the Studer A80 tape recorder 8 days before the auction was due to close. So canceled the sale, okay, but the highest bidder, a German man, das ist mine, insisted he was the new owner and insisted the guy sends it to him. So the guy kind of blew him off, right? And he said that he believed his decision to end the auction was allowed under the platform rules. If an item is damaged, and he says he figured out it didn't work, eBay allows the seller to cancel auctions more than 12 hours before they close. And I think that what that really is a bailout if your item's getting no attention that they throw to users still. It said the bidder would not back down, demanded payout covering the cost of buying an equivalent recorder. Eventually, he told Mr. Godden that they would meet at a courthouse in Frankfurt. Officials scheduled a hearing before the German regional court, and the seller joined online. He lost when the court ruled that the EU-wide Rome regulation adopted in 1980, despite Brexit, covered eBay bidding, and they ordered him to pay $7,551. Then once the legal fees, court costs, and such were added, it was £11,600. Now here's the weird thing. Bailiffs had visited his wife's home in Southampton, Hampshire, to recover the 5-figure sum. Get the fuck out of here. I would spend £7,000 to fly to Germany, find this guy, beat him senseless, and fly home. There is no way. No way.
What a fucking idiot. Wow. So, Neil Barmer again, trying a last-ditch attempt at a win. I don't remember if I sent this in already, so I sent it again, just in case. Well, you don't get disqualified because you didn't already send it. You only sent it once. He's still in with a chance. It all comes down to the last item, I think. Making the world's smallest NES with real Nintendo hardware. And it's a video on Macho Nacho Productions, and this guy's familiar. I've watched some of his videos before. I don't subscribe to him, but I definitely know that face from videos here and there. And he's got essentially what is a Game Boy shell. It's not an original one, but it's a very similar format. But he's used original CPU and various components, so it's not an actual NES, but essentially it is. But I'm guessing he's also shrunk the cartridges as well, because it does have a cartridge slot. So it is a video, as I said. You can watch it at your leisure.
Pretty cool. Coming in at the end for the final one, it's David Gyrick.
Oh, we have a winner.
He has sent in the news that Sonic Origins Plus is coming out, which is making Amy Rose playable in all of the original games for the first time officially. And I believe it also comes with all the Game Gear games on it, rather than the sort of vanilla Sonic Origins that they released, which I think was just the Mega Drive ones previously, and was a bit of a shit show at release. So hopefully they've sorted that out a little bit before they, they're trying to sell another version of it. Or, well, I think you can also upgrade the other version. But hopefully the Game Gear emulation's all right. It could be quite a good way to access all of them.
So I think we declared David Gyrick the winner, with Lord Neil Barmer a close second. So David, drop me an email with your address. Hit up retrogamingroundup.com/prizes, and you thoroughly deserve one from there. So go and pick yourself one. Email me where it's going, and we shall send it out to you. Likewise with Midnight Radio, who won the prize earlier. Email me, ukmike@retrogamingroundup.com, and pick your prize, and we shall send that out to you. So
I'm sorry, Mike. I missed it. I was just off emailing the hosters of auctions I lost. What I missed?
Oh, hang on. I've just received an email. It's about an item I took off listing. From a guy called Scott.
What? He actually bid on... He was trying to buy
is
your
that the one for the
your Dizzy
molds?
merchandise after all.
Yeah. I was selling a life-size
Nothing but
Dizzy.
Dizzy merchandise and molds.
Inflatable Dizzy Halloween costume
Yeah.
/ romper suit.
So we have blazed through the news items. Thank you for sending them in, especially David Gyrick and Lord Neil Barmer, of course, hitting the high points this month. If you do see something interesting out there on the wild internet, send it to news@retrogamingroundup.com, and we will read it out and mock it accordingly if required. So thank you for joining us in chat. We didn't
Necessary.
we didn't announce it because I forgot. But thank you for joining us anyway, those who did. Thank you for listening back to it later, if that's what you're doing. Try and join us live next month, and we'll try and announce it as well. So it's time to go. We've got other things to do. So thank you.
We do, and it is.
And good night. Say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.